On this episode of AV Week, what is AV? Who is AV? And should you be going to InfoComm? All that and more coming up on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
We can't say the future without AI. I mean, there's no way around it. 50% of workers now believe AI is going to improve their experience. When I come into the meeting room, I need a way to incorporate my AI with what's going on in the meeting. It's almost a bring your own AI type of a concept. Most of what we do in our day-to-day is going to change significantly.
Hear the latest AV trends and predictions in this episode of Crestron's Smarter Spaces podcast on your preferred podcast platform.
This is episode 615, Who is AV? Hi, it's me, Brian, and this is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of all the news in the audiovisual world. I am your host, Brian Heidgerken. Tim took the day off. We will work, we'll see him. He's resting up, I think, for InfoComm. There's a lot going on in the next couple of weeks. With us, though, we have Dawn Meade, all around AV Sage. Good afternoon, Dawn.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me.
And also Scott Norman, Snap One Senior Director for the Commercial Market. Hello, Scott.
Hey, Brian. Good to see you.
So this is graduation season. So since you're a senior, does that mean you're graduating or?
Feels like it sometimes, but yeah, I've been around longer than I'd like to admit, especially in this industry.
This has been a short week, which means it's been 4 Mondays for most people. I find that ending a week early is much better than starting a week late. On to our first topic. This week, Rave Publication had an article, more of an opinion piece called AV is HR, as opposed to, we keep hearing AV is IT. Is it HR? Is AV just different? So my first question for you guys is, how do you describe AV? When you're talking to somebody and they're like, what do you do? Oh, I'm in AV. And then their eyes glass over. How do you kind of explain what AV is? Because I struggle with it personally.
Yeah, it's certainly a little tricky. You never know kind of where to start. You're just like, take a deep breath and you're like, okay, where do I even start this conversation? A lot of times, depends on who you're talking to. We've talked to other people in the industry and we say AV and someone will say, oh, you mean antivirus? It's like, no, actually, especially our more IT MSP focused partners that we have. And then I'll talk to neighbors, and always a great conversation starter for that as well. Do you have a home theater? Do you have, a whole house music system? And boy, they love to talk about that. So I always start there and then kind of back into like, well, there's a whole professional industry around that. And, you maybe have conference rooms that you're building and probably don't work right. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like I'm part of that industry and I work for a manufacturer that supplies the products for that sector of the industry. And that really gets their wheels turning like, wow, you must have the best job on earth, and it gets really interesting from there. And it is a fun industry, but I think we've all have a different take.
Yeah, I always say that I get paid a whole lot of money to play with big kid toys all day and have fun. But in short, yeah, it is hard to describe. But I like to tell people that we are the biggest multi-billion-dollar industry that you've never heard of. And without us, modern society would not function. Because if it has a screen, if it has a microphone, if it has a speaker, in some way, it's AV. And we've been around for over 100 years. People don't know we exist. I recently gave a talk at my company for some of the engineers that work in other parts of the company that we're the invisible linchpin. IT, yeah, you might be able to invent computers without it, but without us, you couldn't have a screen to see what your computers were doing. You couldn't have speakers and microphones to get info in and out of those computers. It would just be a box with numbers that you couldn't really access. So really, modern society is built around AV, even though they don't know we're a thing. So yeah, you just got to point it out all around us and say, we touch everything in modern world.
We're hiding in plain sight.
Exactly.
And that's very similar to one of the best examples I've been given is if you can see it or you can hear it, we're involved in it, right? And my other job is I work with architects and interior designers and going in and talking to them about technology and how it interacts or works in their space or doesn't work in their space. I mean, sometimes I joke that my subtitle to my presentation I do is don't make us come in and ruin your room or your space, because they build these beautiful rooms and lobbies, and then we come in and like, oh, we need to hang something right there. Like, what? And also your acoustics are terrible, so we're going to put these soft things all around the ceilings. But it's a struggle, right? Because AV is so broad, and that was kind of the focus of the article, was really AV is not IT, but it's HR, because it is human interaction. It is, it's all about getting people together, or giving messages to people, either in the workplace, at the local mall, the amusement park, and it's really difficult to categorize it. And I don't think IT wants us.
Using that argument, though, AV is HR, AV is IT, AV is facilities. We're a built environment in a lot of cases. AV is also, energy management. AV is communications, especially communications.
Marketing.
But the comms people like to foist this off on the tech people. The tech people like to foist this off on facilities. The facilities folks are like, whoa, you're too much. Go over to these, So we really don't fit anywhere. Even just breaking it down as, are you white collar or blue collar workers?
Yeah.
Well, yes, we're baby blue collar, because sometimes we get to be there at 6 or 7 in the morning with the guys with the hard hats and walking a site while the walls are open. And sometimes we're just working 9 to 5, or if you're working in a multinational, whatever time zone your customer is in. So it's very hard to define. But again, without us, modern society wouldn't exist. You could still have theater, but you'd be on a hill yelling at a natural amphitheater the way they used to in the ye olden days. You could still have sports, but there'd be like 15 people watching, and again, standing on a hill so you could see what's going on. There would be no understanding of what's happening.
Well, and one of the things I like to tell people is we're a lot like the window washer. When we do our job really well, nobody knows we were there, but when we're wrong, everybody sees the spots, right?
Yeah, I think the industry in general just has this challenge around not having a core college curriculum that you become, you graduate college with your AV degree, and then from there it kind of continues to manifest itself. You're not considered one of the core trades out there that's working for the general contractor. Oftentimes they don't put you into the projects, the schedule and the facilities manager. It's always kind of like the side piece. But I also think the industry is shifting a lot, especially over the last 10 years, is that the contractors are tired of having to manage a fire drill with the AV guys at the end of the project. And they know, like, turning over for the customer, like the AV system being polished and really well done is becoming a part of their interest in delivering properly to their customers, whoever is the project manager or the general contractor. And so I think that the good ones especially are starting to make that a real integrated part of what they're doing. And that also comes from our side of the industry. We need to have certified project managers ourselves, and certified engineers and people with CTS certifications to show that professionalism, and that goes a long way. And I think it's an important part of the industry.
But Scott, you mentioned that we don't have a lot of higher education or degree programs, which is still true. There are starting to be some, and there are a lot of related sort of like this with AV, kind of industries.
Yeah.
But there isn't truly an AV industry. But I think in some ways that's to our benefit. Some longtime viewers of the show might remember my ex-husband / ex-coworker. He's in the industry with his half semester of community college under his belt, but his 25 years of degrees and string of letters after his name. He's making 6 figures working for the federal government and is considered an AV expert by most people you'd ask. And, the same can be true. It's one of the last great opportunities, I think, in this country, where you don't have to spend years in college or years in trade school to come into this industry and make a very good career for yourself, because we'll teach you what you need to know. Just bring in some people skills and some excitement for what we're doing, and we'll make it happen for you. And, I ended up getting some master's degrees in semi-related topics, but my undergrad degrees are English and dance. Where's a girl with an English dance degree going to get a tech career that lasts 20 plus years and pays really well? And you get to have fun.
And once you're in the AV industry, we don't let you out. So that's the other side of the coin too.
We're like the mob that way.
Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of like getting back to like 20 plus years ago, when I got into the industry, the job ad in the paper, that's, back that long ago, said, do you enjoy technology? Do you enjoy construction? Do you enjoy travel? Do you enjoy, problem? And I was just like, yes, I enjoy all of that. And that's that mix of blue collar, and then we come back the next day and now we're white collar and we're sitting in front of computers, and we're doing an internship program. I got put in charge of that because I made too much noise last year about the program. And the whole concept is that we want them to experience all of the industry, right? So when we're mapping this out, it's like, yeah, they need to get experience out in the field installing and servicing, but they also need to understand project management and programming and engineering and sales, and then, DevOps, and, and it's like, there's so many facets to AV. It makes it complicated for that simple explanation of, yeah, this is what we do. It's not computers. It's technology, but it's not computers.
We're the cool kids in technology, which anyone that knows the stereotype of the AV guy in high school or elementary school, that wasn't always the case nowadays.
And we do, cause back to one of Scott's points, and this is something that I find talking with architects, is they don't understand what we do. And they also don't understand when we do it. And we're kind of that group that comes in. I always explain to people, we come in after furniture and before people. And anybody that's been involved in a large project knows that once furniture shows up, people are sitting there. They're working in the spaces. And so that concept of, no, you need to build time into your schedules so that after the rooms are all cleaned and ready to be turned over, that's when we come in and do a lot of our work, because we can't be there until it's clean and the network's spun up. And so we need to be there side by side.
Well, we need to do our finishing work side by side. We really should be in there with your architect and your design engineer and your program phase, and before there even is a building in some cases.
We're there the whole time. Get used to seeing us. We're going to be around for a while.
Again, AV's everywhere all the time. You just don't know it.
One of the struggles, I think, and technology is doing everything it can to solve that problem. But, a lot of our technology, especially in the corporate world, education with COVID, really, they've always been into technology, but the concept of remote learning and having students anywhere and working on their schedule. Even my kids, public schools, everybody's on Chromebooks, and if you have a snow day, well, here's some assignments for you to do while you're sitting at home, and it's like, oh, I didn't have that. So technology is leaching out there, but we're looking sometimes for technology to solve problems, and I think technology has gone a long way to making meetings better, right? Because we can have chat in the meeting while we're having a conversation. We can share files super easy. We can whiteboard, and everybody can participate. But the struggle still is I think a lot of people struggle with that meeting, right? And it's like, okay, we're here, but how do we remember to unmute? How do we, make it so it's a good experience, not just technologically, but also a use of everybody's time? Is there a technology fix for that? I don't know that there is, but they keep looking to us and asking for one.
I don't think there is one. Whenever I'm designing things, I always say, we can try to idiot-proof things, but as soon as you do, they'll build a better idiot. So, and no offense to any of our users out there, we don't really think you're idiots, but it's just human nature. We don't remember. How many times have I forgotten to hit mute or unmute? How many times have I forgotten to turn something on? And I work in the industry.
Right.
So,
right.
I don't think you're going to come up with a complete technological fix, even with AI, because humans are so unpredictable. It's not going to happen. We'll find a way to confound the AI.
I think as an industry, we've always struggled with the kind of onboarding of customers and the training of the customers on how to use our solutions. And, back not too long ago, we were building microphone systems in conference rooms with DSPs and home running everything. And we would use, the video conference systems. And now we've moved to more of Microsoft Teams rooms and Zoom rooms and all that. And the hope is that, these things are so well designed and engineered that people are just going to be able to walk in and use it without any training whatsoever. And I think, it really comes down to the finer details of I know actually in our company, one of the things that we're struggling with is a lot of new employees don't even know how to set up calendar invites, how to send someone a calendar invite with the proper time selected, with the proper notification put on it. A lot of people struggle with just marking their calendars as out of office. And when one person doesn't mark their calendar as out of office, then somebody sends a meeting invite and they're like, oh my goodness, I need to be at this meeting, but I'm out of office. And then that kind of continues to manifest itself into the usage of the conference rooms, where people aren't using good etiquette with microphone muting, or they have their camera in a weird position with a bad backlight. And so it seems kind of filthy and weird to have a conversation with some people about, like, hey, here's how you manage your calendar properly. Here's how you should use best practices when you're using video conference. When you're at home, don't put it on your bed to where the screen's always shaking whenever you're talking. It's very basic stuff, but it would go a long way. And I'm not sure if it's our part as the AV industry and the integrators to really kind of start to set those standards and encourage those companies and end users to, like, hey, part of your HR, this is kind of back to AV as HR, part of your HR onboarding process should be like, everybody's held accountable to managing their calendar properly and putting their PTO properly and sending a calendar invite when you're going to be out of office, and having a desk where your computer resides and the lighting is proper. And no one wants to own that conversation. And it's tough for us on the AV side, because that ultimately makes us look really bad when things like that. And people say, oh, the technology is horrible, like I can't hear the person. But it comes down to all the small stuff that people get frustrated about, and it adds up to a big frustrating experience. So I think we've got some work to kind of message that through the integrators, through the manufacturers, to the end users, and all get help in that area.
And if you're someone like me that is an end user, but an AV person in an end user company, it's my responsibility. It's my job. It's my purpose to go to this enterprise of thousands of people that may or may not know the first thing about AV and say, hey, this is what you're doing wrong. Here are some ways you can improve. And to that point, when we had the COVID shutdown, I looked around. AVIXA put out some fantastic videos starring the one and only Chuck Espinoza on ways to set up for hybrid or home working from home. And it went from, don't wear clanky jewelry, don't sit in front of a window, make sure your network is strong, even if it means plugging in. And he just had, I think there were 6 videos in the series on just how to best present yourself when you're working from home or doing a video conference. And I, with permission, took those videos. I posted them on our company's learning site internally. I reached out to the folks in HR and in IT that were setting up the executives and the folks that for their working from home during the pandemic. And I said, hey, here are some resources from the AV team and from our industry. Everybody's going to be using these resources to work remotely. Use these tips, watch these videos, encourage people. And that's all we can do, is encourage them. We can't, we can lead the horse to the water. We can't make them drink. We can't force them to watch the videos, but we can encourage them and make the resources available. And AVIXA does a great job. And several of the other organizations and manufacturers do a great job at providing education that we can share.
Somebody needs to post those to TikTok. That's where they'll get watched.
Yeah, for sure.
But to your point, Don, we found that internally we've started doing some of those basic videos of how to do a calendar, how to, track multiple projects, because there's even the project managers kind of have that down, but even the engineers or, where they're juggling a lot, and we all use technologies all the time, but we use it to do the things that we do. And as the generations, we were talking beforehand about, I have 2 sons, and I don't know the last time they read an email that I sent them, but I still put things on their calendars because I know that their phone is smart enough to go, well, they didn't accept it, but I'm still going to remind them that at noon they need to be here. And that's something that the generation, we always talk about the next generation, but even my generation, it's kind of like, how many people aren't on camera, or they're sitting there, but the camera is to the side of them because the and it's kind of like getting them to orientate the space and also have conversations with the architects on how to design those spaces. So that way, what's behind me when I'm in my cubicle having a conversation, it's not like traffic to the break room or the lunchroom, or it's not going to be distracting, or there's something where I can put something there to let people focus on me and not what's going on behind me.
Agreed.
Awesome. So we are quickly running into InfoComm. It's days away at this point. I think everybody has their flights packed, and I hope they're getting the suitcases out. And we just got done with NAB and trade shows in general. There's I know when I was new in industry and when I was in broadcasting before this, I always wanted to get to NAB. I always wanted to get to NAB. And because I assumed there was a lot to learn there. If nothing else, there was a lot to see. And so my question that brought up in this article was, I don't even remember. It was an article on AVNation.tv. So go check it out. The use case, how valuable are trade shows? And I know last week they talked a little bit about it, about how InfoComm and AVIXA are really pushing to get more end users to show up. And I think 2022 had something like 27% end users, and they're really trying to push that out there. And is this our trade shows in general? You've got InfoComm, NAB, CES. There's a trade show probably every week for somebody. I'm going to NeoCon for the first time, which is all about like furniture, just because I'm curious to see what's out there in corporate furniture. But do they have value? Or is it just a good time to go meet your friends and stay up late and walk a lot? It's part of our health fitness program.
I think they do. I think for us, it's a really awesome time to schedule a whole bunch of meetings and pack in a bunch of meetings that you would have to, fly all over the country to have, and get to see people face to face and have those meaningful interactions. Also, we have a booth at InfoComm, and it's a great opportunity for us to show off the latest and greatest and allow all the integrators in the space to come by our booth and see the solutions that we've been working on. So I think it has tremendous value. And then I think also that people are moving to more of a little bit of a regional approach, doing the smaller shows, a little more intimate setting, take a little bit deeper dive on stuff, because, to cover the whole InfoComm show floor in 2 days basically is a lot to ask, and there's a lot of noise. So, but I think they both have tremendous value, and we always look forward to them every year.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that trade shows are going away. I just think you have to be strategic in how you use them. I had lunch 2 days ago with a manufacturer's rep that I'm just good friend. We just went out for lunch, the girls, and we were talking about shows. And she said, "Oh, it's such a schlep going to InfoComm, and I just run. And is there any value to it?" Well, yes, there is. Now, granted, I'm an end user now. I was an integrator for 20 some years. When I go to the show, I love you guys in the big booths with the big Trons and Crons and whatever's in your name, and the big projector and flat screen manufacturers. Love you guys. You're some of the greatest. You throw great parties. But I don't want to spend time in your booth. I'll walk by. I'll see your new shiny. I'll see your new sexy. I want to go see the little guy. I'm going to go see the 5x5, 10x10 booths, see what's new and exciting. I might pop in and say, "Do you have anything really exciting and just completely new? Otherwise, I'll see you at the Experience Center, or I'll see you at my regional show with the rep, or I'll see you when you come to my office because I work for a huge company now." So it's more about going to see folks, to build relationships, to be seen, to experience what all there is to offer. And for new people, especially for those new folks in the industry that don't know what AV is, go and sip from the fire hose. Go to InfoComm, get your mind blown, just go for 3 days, and then come back and say, "Okay, now I want to go to E4 or the Simco show or the whatever your rep show is here, and see the detailed, oh, okay, that's how that hooks up, and that's the new, oh, I get it. That's very cool." Get that in-depth training or that in-depth look at things and talk about your specific use case that nobody has time to think about in 3 days in Orlando or Vegas. And if you don't take advantage of the education while you're there, you're silly. Even if you don't have a CTS, CTSI, or CTSD that you desperately need RUs for, you do still need to get some education under your belt, and there's nowhere else you can get it for free or real darn cheap than you can at shows like InfoComm, the big ones. It's amazing. But at the end of the day, it's about the relationships, and it's just about the overall, what is there? the scale of it, the scope of it, the seeing the new sexies, the shinies, and seeing someone that, the guys on AVNation are sick of hearing this story, but how many years ago I went to InfoComm, I found this little 10 by 10 booth of a bunch of folks from Texas wearing boots and saying, hey, this is our one product that we have, but here's a bottle of hot sauce. And it was one product that solved a host of problems for our integrators. And our company bought the heck out of them. And today they're one of the bigger booths on the floor. And every time I see contemporary research, I'm like, hey, hot sauce guys. And they're like, hey, old school. So you don't know when one of those 5x5 or 10x10s is going to become an industry stalwart. But if you don't check them out, you might miss a really cool product that'll solve a lot of issues that you're having at that time.
Yeah, I love a couple of years ago, I've always gone as an integrator, but I went with a client. And so it was, what does the client want to do? I'm not going to go on our schedule. I get to go do what they want to do. And we absolutely hit the perimeter of the show floor. And there are some crazy stuff out there. But then there's stuff that sits there and somebody comes like, we're looking for this thing that does this. And you're like, I saw that. And now I just got to, go through my pictures and figure out where it was. But yeah, and it's a lot of fun to see some of the more cutting edge things, ideas out there that are maybe pushing that you may not see on a normal day.
I call those my back pocket companies. I see them at the show and I think it's the coolest crap I've ever seen. I take note of the name of the company. I stick their business card in my back pocket and I just hang on to it. Might be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years till I find a project and I'm like, wait, I know exactly who does that and here's their info and this is going to be awesome. I finally get to use them. So yeah, for sure.
So I would say, so that we got the end user, the manufacturer, Scott, you enjoy it. I find value in it. It is a lot. It is the fire hose, right? So is there anybody we're missing that should also be going, that is in that gray area? Because we talk about how AV is so broad. Are there other groups that need to go in, architects, interior designers? Should they be coming by and going, oh, that's a cool video wall, or that's a neat thing that I could put on my table on my next project?
It would be fantastic to have them come to the show. I also think a big untapped market, which InfoComm AVIXA reached out to a few years ago with some of their scholarships, students. If you got a high school kid and you're coming to the show as someone in the AV industry, bring your kid with you. Say, check this out, man. This is awesome. You can have a career here. And by the way, NSCA and AVIXA and 12 other groups are giving you scholarships for a degree while you're at it, anybody. We've had people in the past wandering off the street or the one year in, I think, Vegas, there was like a beauty and cosmetology show going on in one of the halls. And a couple of them wandered over into the InfoComm hall and they were like, wow. So, anybody, just bring them in.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Dawn and Scott. Thank you for being on the show. I really enjoyed the conversation. If people want to see more of your work or follow you outside of your visits here on AV Week, where would they go to find you, Dawn?
Well, you can't find me at my company because I can't tell you where I work, but you can always find me on all of the socials at AVDawn. You can find me on AV Week and the AVNation shows as much as they'll let me come on and blather. And if you are coming to InfoComm, I don't get to be there for the whole show this year. However, if you will be there on Tuesday, make sure you come by 11 a.m. in room W304AB. I am co-teaching a class called Making It Yours, Developing Institutional Audiovisual Standards. So if you're an end user or somebody that works with end users and wants to develop their own internal standards, come see myself and the fabulous Michael Peterson of Iowa State University as we talk about how to develop standards and get integrators to use them.
As an engineer, I loved helping people develop their standards. It not only did it make them easier for them, it made it a lot easier for me. Scott, where can people find you?
So number one, on our website, snap1.com. I've got a couple of cameos on there where you can find me in some videos. You can also, obviously, at InfoComm. Well, our booth is booth number 3634 at InfoComm, 3634, the Snap One booth. We're kind of right in the middle in the main hallway, so you can't miss us. But we'd love to connect with all of you out there and further the conversation.
Thanks again, Scott and John, and thanks to you for joining us. Don't forget to head on over to avnation.tv and check out all the InfoComm 2023 news, including how you can join us at the Tweet Up event at the Ice Bar Orlando, and how you can get a chance to win $10,000 with your visit to InfoComm. Head on over to avnation.tv for all that and more. And thank you for joining us. Remember to be nice to each other.